Because ETH is like Android, it's a big open source network that you can use for many things. Solana, on the other hand, is more like Apple. It's like having one great running system. Also, your Apple phone and Android phone can talk to each other. In the end, everything works out. The market needs time to process that. Then you need to think about who these people are and who the RAs are. And keep in mind that these are not New York trading rooms where people call and say, buy this now. These are the kinds of people who wear slacks, raid barons on the weekend, aren't sure about the ETF, play golf, and see their best clients. He has a question for them. The whole thing takes a long time. It's going to take longer. It's now there though. I see the CTF as a deal between the rest of the world and crypto land. So it's now a lot easier for capital to come in than it used to be. In crypto, the silliest things always happen. Even the run up was great. But I do see it as a market, and all it does is let people trade. The people who buy the most of this stuff are actually the ones who put money into their 401ks every month. They can put this into their 401ks, that's sticky. That's why ARK didn't get all the sales when it dropped 75%. People born after WWI will be more worried about the changes. That is good though. There may be a lot of people who buy it with the intention of keeping it for a long time. This should give it the security you need so that you don't just get huge washouts from people who are panicking at the moment. Down it goes. This is an asset that changes value quickly, and most ETF providers have made that very clear. It's best to buy it and hold on to it. I believe that investments become less volatile as they age. I believe we should be ready for that. A lot of passive flows like 400, 1000 owners putting money in every 2 weeks or every month will keep a bait that wasn't there before. In other words, I believe that instability will likely go down. Our money will also be going into crypto land, which isn't just the state of Bitcoin. A lot of other places will see cash flows. The Wild West will still be around, but the Big Daddy will be less volatile. This is a bad thing because it means we can't make as much money each time. If, on the other hand, our main goal is for this technology to be widely and deeply used, then it has to go that way. So it's kind of good from the point of view of trying to change the world, but bad because of how silly the cycles are and how profitable they can be if you get them right. Also, everyone has PTSD from the last time, right? After the big adjustment, there was a second run up. Everyone thought it would go on longer, but it didn't. That's why everyone has PTSD. Based on how I'm thinking about it, there's a 60% chance that this is a pretty normal cycle. If that's the case, let's say it would reach 150,000, there's a 20% chance that it's a front-loaded cycle because of the ETF and other things. This means that it might get to 150 faster and then fade, which is bad news for a lot of people who thought it would go into 2025, right? The other 20% chance is that this turns out to be a bubble cycle. So it looks like 2011, 12, and 13 more than it does the last one. But we need to know how the ETF trends relate to things like monetary policy, the economy, and the election. That's what I think about it. When we use that everything code structure that I've talked about before, we get price goals of more than 500,000. So you still get $250,000 even if I take 50% off because I'm a fool. That's about the range for me, 150 to 250. Price goals are wanted by everyone. After a year and a half, they hate you for it because you weren't quite right. I think the apps layer of blockchain will also add a lot more users. And this cycle makes me think of the everything everywhere all at one circle. When people have different codes for NFTs, inscriptions, smart contracts, and other things, they can use it for anything, from tickets to real world assets. That is why it depends on how deep that layer of apps goes. You're exactly right. If the applications layer doesn't make much progress this time, things will get back to normal. That's not all. They're also going to sell options on the ETF, which will change the way markets work. Bitcoin is now used for money, even though it wasn't before. Even so, it was still pure. You've added a financialization layer which doesn't make it dirty, but it is what it is. That means they will be able to offer leverage goods on it. Because options are kind of limited risk products, we get a lot of volatility sellers in products with a lot of volatility. This slows down the market because they're always trying to protect themselves. And that way of trading can really change how markets work. It can lead to acceleration points when everyone is short, and all of a sudden the price goes through and everyone has to buy everything back. There are times when the market slows down just because people keep selling yield and premium for yield. That is a bigger deal than most people think. For a while though, the casino for ETF choices will also be a lot of fun. Everything is wrong sometimes, even the best of us. When you deal with a product that changes a lot like crypto, it's hard, but it really does run when it does, and your feelings get the best of you. You should look for 100x's instead of just holding Bitcoin and ETH. Some people buy and hold a few big projects, but that's not what this person does. They want to trade it because they believe it will help them make more money. They also take care of things wrong. People start to think, I want the extra 5% yield by sticking with a project whose safety I know nothing about. Don't let anyone take your coins and don't fuck this up. Hold on to good assets and don't sell. You will do well if you can do that with 90% of your capital. Keep 10% to be a dirty scumbag. It doesn't matter what you do, that will amount to nothing. Everyone has the shame wallet, right? There is shrapnel left over from the last cycle that didn't do anything in all of our wallets. Don't mess it up. It wants to keep people safe from themselves. And because of this, we've even released a free NFT. You carry it around with you, and it's a movie of me telling you not to mess this up. So when people go through their wallets, I look at them with disapproval and try to tell them, hey, don't mess this up. Feel free to get this free NFT. It will keep you from doing the stupid things you know you'll do when you lose your mind. This is your chance to make it more likely that your future self will live up to your picture of what a comfortable retirement looks like. They need to be able to pay their medical bills and send their kids to school. You can do that as long as you don't mess this up. Bitcoin is so different and used by so many people that it needs more than one message. It's not enough that it's digital gold. It's not enough to say that this is a new scheme. There need to be several different stories. Also, I know that people have a lot of intellectual thoughts about ETFs, but is this really what we agreed to? Just a trade deal to me. We're putting money into the room to pay for new projects. That makes it possible for us to move forward. And you can tell things are going forward when Larry Fink talks about turning all assets into tokens. And more people can build when more money comes in. In other words, it's not ideal. But we need to move that money from the cash world to the cryptocurrency world in order to make the new system we all want. I am very proud of Solana because I can see that it made it through the worst nuclear winter. The community and developers were very active and they made some big technological advances like being able to mint a million FTs for $100 and then fire them down, which changes the game again in terms of speed and cost. That's why I think that. That's why I put my money on that horse and still have Bitcoin and Ethereum. Besides that, there's a lot of new stuff like Hadasui and Say and Shape and so on. I don't know is the answer. That's tough. Tough. That's one reason I started the business to handle assets. I have exponential age asset management because this part is hard. It's simple to have the first 3 or 4 and not mess it up. It's hard to pick the winners unless you're in it all day and know everything. So my plan was to start an asset management company that only deals in crypto hedge funds.